a hero on horseback, perfect horsemanship in uniform. From the very beginning, Alex felt a special connection with these animals. He would spend hours staring at them, fascinated by their strength, elegance, and gentle eyes. While other children ran around playing games or watched television, Alex would sneak out early in the morning, just to see the horses under the soft glow of sunrise. His grandfather, a kind and patient man, noticed Alex's fascination. He had spent his entire life raising and training horses, and he immediately recognized the spark in his grandson's eyes. "You have a feeling for them, Alex," his grandfather would say, ruffling his hair. "Horses know when someone cares about them. They can sense kindness, patience, and respect. If you want to ride, you need to understand them, not just sit on their back." Alex took his grandfather's words to heart. At first, he was clumsy and nervous. He would approach a horse slowly, speaking softly so as not to startle it. He learned to groom them carefully, brushing their coats until they shone and cleaning their hooves with gentle, steady hands. It was hard work, but Alex enjoyed every moment. The horses began to trust him, and in return he gained confidence. Every day was a new lesson. Sometimes he would fall while trying to mount a restless horse, but he never gave up. Each fall taught him balance, patience, and humility. By the time Alex was 10, he could ride almost any horse in his grandfather's stable. His riding was smooth and natural, almost like the horse and rider were one. People from the town would stop and watch as he moved across the fields, amazed at how easily he handled the powerful animals. Alex didn't ride for applause or recognition. He rode because it made him feel alive. Every gallop across the open fields, every jump over a fallen log, every careful turn around a tree seemed like a conversation between him and the horse. School was another part of Alex's life, but horses were always on his mind. While other children did their homework and played video games, Alex read books about horse breeds, training techniques, and famous riders. He dreamed of competing one day, of showing the world what he could do. But dreams were not enough. He knew that hard work was essential. So he spent hours each day practicing. He learned how to anticipate a horse's movements, how to communicate through tiny shifts in his body, and how to remain calm even when a horse became nervous or stubborn. Despite his dedication, life wasn't always easy. His family didn't have much money. Riding lessons and competitions cost money they simply didn't have. But Alex never let this stop him. He helped his grandfather in the stables, feeding the horses, cleaning the stalls, and learning everything he could from experience. His grandfather would sometimes take him to local competitions, where Alex would watch older, more experienced riders perform. He studied their posture, the way they held the reins, the gentle yet firm control they had over their horses. He imagined himself on that stage one day, confident and graceful. Alex's first opportunity came sooner than expected. One summer, the local stables announced a small competition for children in the town. Alex signed up, feeling both excited and nervous. He didn't have fancy equipment or a perfectly trained horse, but he had patience, practice, and a deep connection with his horse, Shadow, a chestnut-colored stallion he had bonded with for months. On the day of the competition, Alex woke up early, brushing Shadow carefully, making sure the horse was calm and ready. He whispered to him softly, "We can do this, Shadow, just like we practiced." The competition was challenging. Other children had better equipment and more experience, but Alex's performance was different. He moved with Shadow as though they were dancing together. They jumped over obstacles smoothly, turned sharply when needed, and maintained perfect balance. The crowd watched in awe as the young boy and his horse seemed to glide across the field. When they finished, there was a moment of silence, followed by cheers. Alex didn't win first place, but he won something even more important: respect. People started noticing his talent, and word spread about the boy who could ride horses like no other. Encouraged by this small success, Alex continued to practice. He woke up before dawn every day, even during harsh winters, to spend time with the horses. He learned about horse health, nutrition, and care. He watched his grandfather carefully, absorbing every lesson. "It's not just about riding," his grandfather said one evening as they watched the sunset. "It's about understanding them. A horse can tell your mood, your confidence, and even your fear. Treat them well, and they'll give you everything you need." Alex listened carefully, realizing that horsemanship was as much about heart as it was about skill. By the time he reached his teenage years, Alex was recognized as one of the most talented young riders in the region. Local competitions started inviting him to participate, and he began winning awards. But more than awards or recognition, he valued the trust he had built with the horses. Shadow was no longer just a horse. He was a partner, a friend, and a teacher. Together, they moved with rhythm and harmony, understanding each other's thoughts without words. Yet Alex also felt the call of a greater purpose. He admired the local police mounted unit, a group of officers who rode horses while serving their community. They were brave, disciplined, and respected. Alex dreamed of combining his love for horses with a life of service. "I want to protect people just like they do," he told his grandfather one night. His grandfather nodded, proud of the boy's ambition. "If you work hard and stay true to yourself, Alex, nothing can stop you. Remember, courage and patience are as important as skill." That dream gave Alex even more determination. He trained not only his riding skills, but also his physical strength and mental focus. He ran through the fields every morning, practiced balancing exercises, and learned to stay calm under pressure. He read books about military service, police work, and leadership. He understood that being a mounted officer would require more than riding ability. It would require discipline, responsibility, and courage. Through all of this, Alex remained humble. He helped younger children at the stables, teaching them the basics of riding and care. He shared his knowledge freely, remembering how he had once been a nervous boy unsure of where to begin. People admired his dedication, not just because of his talent, but because of his kindness and patience. As he approached the age to consider his future seriously, Alex knew he wanted to join the mounted unit. He wanted to serve his community while staying close to the horses he loved. He was ready for the next chapter, prepared by years of early mornings, hard work, and a deep bond with his animals. The foundation for a remarkable journey had been laid, a journey that would one day make him a hero on horseback, admired for skill, courage, and the perfect harmony between rider and horse. And so, in that quiet town with rolling fields and the soft neighs of horses in the distance, Alex Morno's story truly began. The boy with a heart full of courage and a love for horses was ready to take the first step toward a life that would inspire everyone who would hear his story. After years of dedication and training with horses in his small hometown, Alex Morno felt ready for a bigger challenge. His dream of joining the mounted police unit was now within reach. The idea of serving his community while riding horses filled him with both excitement and nervousness. He knew that this path would test not just his riding skills, but his courage, patience, and discipline. Still, Alex was determined. He wanted to take everything he had learned in the fields with Shadow and use it to make a difference. The first day at the academy was unlike anything Alex had experienced before. The grounds were large, with rows of stables, training fields, and offices buzzing with activity. Young recruits from all over the region had gathered, each carrying their own dreams and expectations. Alex felt a mixture of awe and anxiety as he stepped onto the training ground. He looked at the uniformed officers instructing the recruits and realized that he was about to enter a world where discipline and precision were as important as passion and skill. The first weeks were challenging. The academy demanded early mornings, rigorous physical training, and strict schedules. Recruits ran long distances, performed strength exercises, and learned tactical drills. Alex discovered that riding a horse in the open fields was very different from riding under the expectations of uniformed service. The horses were trained for specific tasks, some of which involved crowd control, patrolling, or assisting in emergencies. Alex needed to adjust his natural riding style to meet these requirements, all while maintaining the bond he had learned to build with animals over the years. Even with these challenges, Alex's love for horses made the work feel meaningful. Each morning, he would wake before dawn to care for his assigned horse. Grooming, feeding, and preparing the horse became a ritual, a way to focus his mind and strengthen the bond that was essential for successful service. He learned that every horse had its own personality. Some were calm and gentle, while others were energetic and unpredictable. Alex adapted to each animal, using patience and understanding to gain their trust. He realized that a mounted officer's effectiveness depended as much on understanding their horse as it did on their own skill. Training exercises tested both the recruits and their horses. Alex remembered one particular day vividly. The instructors set up a course that simulated a busy city street with obstacles, sudden noises, and moving objects. Horses were expected to stay calm while their riders guided them through the course. Many recruits struggled, and some horses became anxious. Alex felt Shadow's energy, his tension rising as the sounds of horns, shouts, and moving objects surrounded them. He spoke softly to the horse, shifted his weight with precision, and guided Shadow through the course without panic. When they completed it successfully, his instructors nodded in approval. It was a small victory, but it reinforced Alex's belief that calmness and communication were more important than force or speed. As weeks turned into months, Alex learned that being a mounted officer required more than riding ability. He studied law, public safety procedures, and first aid. He trained in teamwork, learning to coordinate with other officers during patrols and emergencies. He realized that every decision he made could affect not only himself and his horse, but also the people they were sworn to protect. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily on him, but it also strengthened his determination. During this time, Alex formed friendships with other recruits. They shared early mornings, exhausting drills, and quiet moments in the stables. While some were motivated primarily by physical challenges, Alex and a few others shared a deeper connection with the horses. They would talk late into the evenings about their dreams, fears, and experiences with their animals. These friendships became a source of support, making the demanding training more manageable. Alex discovered that trust and cooperation were as important among humans as they were between rider and horse. One day, the academy held a practical assessment. Recruits were paired with horses they had not ridden before and asked to perform a series of maneuvers. The goal was to see how well they could adapt, communicate, and maintain control under pressure. Alex was nervous. He had grown used to riding Shadow, and now he needed to show his skills with a different horse. As he approached the stall, the horse eyed him warily. Alex took a deep breath, recalling every lesson from his grandfather and his years in the fields. Slowly and patiently, he approached the horse, letting it sniff his hand, speaking in calm tones. When he finally mounted, he felt a surge of confidence. The horse responded to his cues, moving with balance and precision through the exercises. His instructors watched closely, and at the end, one of them gave a rare smile. It was a sign that Alex was not just skilled, he was exceptional. But training was not only about success. Alex faced moments of doubt and difficulty. Some days, Shadow was restless, or the exercises seemed too hard. There were moments when Alex fell, stumbled, or felt overwhelmed. Yet he learned to see these setbacks as opportunities. Each challenge taught him patience, resilience, and the importance of persistence. He remembered his grandfather's words, "Courage is not about never falling, it's about getting up and trying again." This lesson became a guiding principle during his time at the academy. The turning point came when the recruits were introduced to their first real-world assignment. They were sent to assist with a large public event in the city. Streets were crowded, and the risk of accidents was high. Alex felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was the moment where he could apply everything he had learned, not just his riding skills, but his judgment, patience, and ability to stay calm under pressure. The city was noisy and chaotic, very different from the quiet fields he was used to. People shouted, cars honked, and children ran through the streets. Alex guided Shadow carefully, keeping the horse calm while observing the crowd. He realized that his role was not only to ride but to maintain order, protect people, and act with responsibility. During the assignment, Alex noticed a situation developing. A child had wandered too close to a busy street. Without hesitation, he maneuvered Shadow with precision, gently guiding the child to safety while maintaining control of the horse and the surrounding crowd. The officers nearby noticed his quick thinking, and a sense of pride filled him. It was his first real test outside the academy, and he had proven himself capable. The experience showed him that being a mounted officer required courage, awareness, and trust in one's horse. By the end of his training, Alex had grown in ways he could not have imagined. He was no longer just a talented rider from a small town. He was a disciplined, confident, and responsible mounted officer. He had learned the importance of teamwork, the need for patience, and the value of connecting with the animals he rode. His bond with Shadow had grown stronger, and he understood that their partnership was at the heart of every success. Together they had faced challenges, learned lessons, and grown as a team. Alex's graduation from the academy was a proud moment. He stood in uniform, holding the reins of Shadow, looking out at the crowd of family, instructors, and fellow recruits. The ceremony celebrated not only his achievements but the dedication, courage, and perseverance that had brought him this far. It was a step toward a larger mission, serving his community, protecting the public, and demonstrating the perfect harmony between a rider and his horse. Even as he celebrated, Alex knew that this was only the beginning. The academy had prepared him for the challenges ahead, but real life would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. He felt ready, though, because he had the skills, the knowledge, and most importantly, the heart to meet those challenges. He was no longer just a boy with a love for horses. He was a mounted officer, ready to face the world on horseback. As he rode Shadow out of the academy grounds for the first time as an official officer, the sun was setting, casting golden light over the fields. Alex felt a deep sense of pride and purpose. The boy who once watched horses in the early morning light had become a man who would ride into the city streets, protect people, and exemplify courage and skill. His journey had only just begun, but he was ready to face it head-on, with Shadow by his side and the lessons of his early life guiding every step. After completing his training at the academy, Alex Morno was now an official member of the Mounted Police Unit. Wearing the uniform for the first time, he felt a sense of pride and responsibility that was both thrilling and humbling. He knew that being part of the mounted unit meant more than just riding a horse. It meant serving his community, maintaining order, and being prepared to face unexpected challenges at any moment. His first real assignment came sooner than he expected. The city had organized a large public festival to celebrate the local heritage, and the mounted unit was called to help manage the crowds. Streets were filled with people, laughter, music, and the smell of food from small stalls lining the avenues. Alex's heart raced with a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was his first assignment in the real world, and he knew he had to stay alert, focused, and calm. Riding Shadow through the bustling streets was a different experience from the controlled exercises at the academy. People were everywhere, moving unpredictably, and small children darted between the crowd. Cars and bicycles passed close to the edges of the pedestrian areas, creating a mixture of sounds and movements that could easily startle a horse. Alex felt Shadow tense beneath him, sensing the commotion. He gently whispered to him, adjusting his posture and using subtle cues he had learned over the years. Slowly, he guided Shadow forward, keeping both the horse and the surrounding people safe. As the hours passed, Alex began to understand the rhythm of the crowd. He noticed small details, the way a child clutched a parent's hand, the movement of someone trying to cut through the crowd, the sudden noises that might spook a horse. He realized that a mounted officer's job was not just to ride, but to anticipate, observe, and react quickly without panicking. Every decision he made had to be precise, calm, and thoughtful. It wasn't long before Alex faced his first real test. A small group of children had wandered away from their parents and were heading toward the main street where vendors were packing up their carts. The movement was sudden, and the noise of carts, music, and chatter made the situation tense. Alex felt a surge of urgency. He guided Shadow with calm, deliberate movements, positioning himself between the children and the busy street. Using soft words and gentle gestures, he directed the children back toward safety. Shadow responded perfectly, moving carefully and keeping the area clear. By the time he guided the children to their parents, a small crowd had gathered, applauding quietly. Alex felt relief and pride, realizing that this was the true responsibility of a mounted officer, protecting people, especially the most vulnerable, while maintaining composure under pressure. That day taught Alex a valuable lesson. In real-life situations, skill alone was not enough. A mounted officer needed patience, awareness, and quick thinking. He began to pay even more attention to Shadow, learning to read the horse's reactions to the crowd and adjusting his actions accordingly. Shadow was more than just a partner. He was an extension of Alex's senses, helping him navigate challenges and respond effectively. Over the next few weeks, Alex continued to gain experience on duty. Each assignment brought new challenges. He helped guide traffic during emergencies, assisted during public events, and even participated in search operations when someone was reported missing. Every experience tested his riding, judgment, and ability to remain calm under stress. There were times when Shadow became nervous or stubborn, but Alex had learned the importance of patience and trust. Together, they formed a bond that allowed them to face any situation as a team. One particularly memorable assignment occurred during a sudden storm. The city had been hit with heavy rain, and the streets quickly became slippery and crowded. Pedestrians were hurrying to find shelter, while cars struggled to navigate the wet roads. The mounted unit was called to assist, and Alex and Shadow were deployed to the busiest area of the city. The rain soaked his uniform, and visibility was low, but Alex focused on controlling Shadow and moving steadily through the chaos. Suddenly, he noticed a small boy holding tightly onto a balloon, slipping toward the edge of a busy street. Without hesitation, Alex directed Shadow with precision, guiding the boy safely away from danger. Shadow's hooves slipped slightly on the wet pavement, but Alex kept his balance, using his weight and the reins to maintain control. When the boy's parents rushed to him, Alex felt a wave of relief. It was another reminder that courage and quick thinking were as important as riding skills. These experiences also helped Alex grow in confidence. He learned to anticipate challenges, to remain calm under pressure, and to trust both his instincts and Shadow's reactions. He began to understand that every assignment, no matter how small, was an opportunity to serve and protect. The lessons from the academy had prepared him, but real-life situations were unpredictable, and he needed to adapt constantly. In addition to his duties, Alex also became a mentor to newer recruits. He shared his experiences, offering advice on riding, caring for horses, and managing crowds. He emphasized the importance of patience, observation, and empathy. Alex remembered how his grandfather had taught him to understand and respect horses, and he now wanted to pass that wisdom on. He encouraged other recruits to form strong bonds with their horses, explaining that trust between rider and horse was essential for safety and effectiveness. Alex also began to notice how much impact a mounted officer could have on the community. People often approached him in shadow, smiling or expressing gratitude. Children would reach out to pet the horse, and parents would thank him for helping keep the streets safe. These interactions reminded Alex why he had chosen this path. It wasn't about recognition or awards. It was about making a difference, helping others, and setting an example of courage and responsibility. Despite the challenges, Alex never lost his love for riding. Every assignment reinforced the joy he felt when he and Shadow moved as one. He enjoyed the quiet moments, too, grooming Shadow after a long day, feeding him, or simply riding through a calm park when there were no crowds or emergencies. These moments reminded him of why he had started this journey in the first place. Horses were not just a tool for his work. They were partners, teachers, and friends. One evening, after a long day of duty, Alex reflected on his journey so far. From the small fields of his hometown to the bustling streets of the city, he had grown in ways he could not have imagined. He had faced fear, learned responsibility, and discovered the true meaning of courage. He realized that being a mounted officer was about more than riding. It was about leadership, service, and the bond between human and horse. Shadow had been by his side through every challenge, responding to his guidance and teaching him to remain calm and focused. Alex also thought about the future. He knew that there would be more challenges ahead, larger crowds, emergencies, and situations that would test his skills and judgment. But he felt ready. He had trained for this, learned from experience, and developed a partnership with Shadow that was unbreakable. Together, they could face any challenge with confidence, courage, and grace. In the weeks that followed, Alex continued to gain respect among his peers and superiors. His ability to remain calm under pressure, communicate effectively with his horse, and handle complex situations made him stand out. Yet, he remained humble, remembering his grandfather's lessons and the early days in the fields. He focused on learning, improving, and serving with dedication. Through it all, Alex Morno was no longer just a young boy who loved horses. He was a mounted officer, a protector of the people, and a hero in the making. Each day on duty, each challenge he faced, strengthened his skills, his confidence, and his bond with Shadow. He was beginning to understand what it truly meant to be a hero, not someone who seeks fame, but someone who acts with courage, compassion, and dedication when it is most needed. By the end of Part 3, Alex had established himself as a capable and respected officer. He had faced real challenges, made quick decisions under pressure, and proven that skill, patience, and courage could save lives. The experiences of this period shaped him, preparing him for the even greater tests and heroic moments that awaited him in the future. Alex and Shadow had become a team that could face anything together, their connection stronger than ever, ready to serve and protect with honor. Alex Morno had grown confident in his role as a mounted officer. His experiences in training and on previous assignments had taught him how to remain calm, make quick decisions, and work seamlessly with Shadow. Yet, he knew that every day on duty could bring new challenges, some unexpected and intense. He was about to face a moment that would test everything he had learned, not just skill or courage, but heart. It was a warm spring afternoon when the mounted unit was called to a large city fair. The fairgrounds were alive with laughter, music, and the cheerful chatter of families enjoying rides, games, and food. Streets were crowded, and it was the perfect place for officers to keep a watchful eye. Alex rode Shadow along the perimeter, scanning the crowd carefully. He noticed children darting between booths, parents distracted by phone calls or conversations, and the constant movement of people in all directions. It was exciting work, but it demanded full attention. As the day progressed, the crowd grew larger, and the atmosphere became more chaotic. Street performers drew clusters of people, food stalls attracted lines of hungry visitors, and the sound of music, shouting, and laughter created a sensory overload. Alex felt Shadow's energy shift beneath him. Horses could sense tension, fear, or excitement in their environment, and Shadow was alert, ready to respond to any danger. Alex's hand rested gently on the reins, his voice calm and steady as he guided his partner through the crowded fairgrounds. Suddenly, Alex noticed a young child near the edge of a temporary barricade. The child had wandered away from her parents and was fascinated by a ride about to start nearby. The ride was large, mechanical, and noisy, dangerous for anyone, especially a small child. Alex's heart raced. He knew he had only seconds to act. Without hesitation, he leaned slightly forward, giving Shadow subtle but clear signals. Shadow responded immediately, moving with precision through the crowd. The scene was tense. People were focused on the rides, music, and games, oblivious to the potential danger. Alex positioned himself between the child and the ride, his voice calm but commanding. "Stay close to me," he whispered, carefully guiding the child back toward safety. Shadow moved with elegance, balancing the child's safety with the flow of the crowd. Every step had to be measured, every movement intentional. There was no room for error. The child's parents finally noticed and ran toward them, their faces filled with worry. Alex guided Shadow slowly, ensuring that the child remained calm and safe. When he reunited the child with her parents, they thanked him profusely, their relief evident. Alex felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that his training, patience, and connection with Shadow had prevented a potential accident. Yet he also realized that moments like these required more than skill. They required presence of mind, empathy, and courage. As the fair continued, Alex and Shadow remained vigilant. They navigated crowded streets, intervened when minor accidents occurred, and ensured that everyone could enjoy the event safely. Alex began to notice the small ways in which people reacted to the mounted officers. Children would wave at Shadow, adults would nod with appreciation, and some would even pause to thank them. These gestures reminded Alex why he had chosen this path, not for recognition or reward, but to make a meaningful difference. Later in the afternoon, another incident tested Alex in a more intense way. A group of teenagers, excited by the festival atmosphere, had started running through a narrow pathway where food stalls and crowds of people were densely packed. Their sudden movements caused a chain reaction, and several people nearly tripped or collided. Alex assessed the situation quickly. Shadow needed to move carefully to maintain control and prevent panic. With calm authority, Alex guided Shadow into position, gently but firmly redirecting the teenagers and opening a safe path for the crowd. His quick thinking prevented injuries and restored order, demonstrating that mounted officers played a critical role in managing public safety. Through these experiences, Alex began to understand the deeper responsibility of his role. It wasn't just about riding well. It was about predicting human behavior, reading the environment, and acting decisively while keeping the horse safe. Shadow's reactions were often a guide. If the horse became tense or uneasy, Alex had to adjust immediately. Over time, he developed an almost instinctive connection with Shadow, sensing shifts in energy, mood, and movement. This connection allowed them to work as one, responding to situations with efficiency and care. One of the most memorable moments that day occurred near the evening, just as the fair was winding down. A sudden commotion erupted near one of the exit gates. People were rushing toward the vehicles and streets, trying to leave before a sudden downpour. In the chaos, Alex noticed a young boy separated from his mother, standing frozen in the crowd. Cars were moving nearby, and the child was dangerously close to stepping into the street. Without a second thought, Alex nudged Shadow forward. The horse responded instantly, moving calmly yet decisively through the throng of people. Alex guided the child with steady hands and gentle words, positioning Shadow between the boy and the busy street. Every step was calculated, and every movement was measured to maintain calm in both the horse and the child. By the time he reached the boy's mother, she embraced her son with tears of relief in her eyes. Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was the moment he had trained for, dreamed of, and prepared to face. It was not an easy situation, but courage, patience, and skill had made the difference. After the festival, Alex reflected on the day's events. Each challenge had taught him something new about his role. He had learned how to anticipate danger, how to guide people calmly through chaos, and how to use Shadow's strength and instincts to protect others. He also realized the importance of humility. No matter how skilled or experienced he became, he would always need to respect the unpredictability of both human behavior and the environment. In the days that followed, Alex's actions during the festival were recognized by his superiors. They praised his quick thinking, composure, and ability to act decisively under pressure. However, Alex did not seek praise or accolades. His reward was knowing that he had made a difference, that a child had been kept safe, and that people could enjoy the fair without fear. These moments reminded him of the purpose behind his uniform and the trust placed in mounted officers by the community. The experience also strengthened the bond between Alex and Shadow. That day, Shadow had responded perfectly to every cue, every shift in balance, and every command. Alex realized that their partnership was more than training. It was a connection built on trust, respect, and understanding. Shadow had not just been a tool for his duties. He had been a partner who shared the responsibility and contributed to the success of every action. Alex also thought about the lessons he could pass on to future recruits. Courage, skill, and discipline were essential, but empathy, patience, and understanding were equally important. A mounted officer needed to read both the horse and the people around them, acting in a way that maintained safety and calm. These lessons were the foundation of heroism in everyday life, not the heroism seen in movies or stories, but real, quiet, and meaningful acts of courage that made a tangible difference in people's lives. By the end of Part 4, Alex had experienced what it truly meant to be a hero on horseback. He had faced chaos, made life-saving decisions, and worked in perfect harmony with Shadow to protect others. The events of the festival reinforced his purpose, strengthened his confidence, and deepened his bond with his horse. Alex realized that heroism was not about recognition. It was about courage, empathy, and responsibility. Every day as a mounted officer offered an opportunity to serve, protect, and inspire. Through these experiences, Alex Morno had become more than a skilled rider. He had become a protector, a mentor, and a symbol of dedication and bravery. His story was no longer just about personal achievement. It was about the impact one person, supported by the trust and partnership of an animal, could have on a community. Shadow was more than a horse. He was a teammate, a guide, and a friend. Together, they embodied the ideal of courage and responsibility, showing that perfect horsemanship was not only about riding, but about heart, focus, and service. Alex looked forward to the future, knowing that even greater challenges awaited him. But he felt ready, confident that with Shadow by his side, he could face anything. Each day offered new lessons, new opportunities, and new moments to make a difference. The hero on horseback had proven himself in real action, and his journey toward further accomplishments and inspiring others was just beginning. After years of training, hard work, and countless real-life experiences, Alex Morno had grown into an accomplished and respected mounted officer. The city knew him as a calm, skillful, and courageous officer, and Shadow had become more than a horse. He was a partner, a teammate, and a friend. Together, they had faced crowds, emergencies, and moments of danger, always managing to protect people while remaining calm and composed. Yet Alex knew that the end of a heroic career was not just about recognition or awards. It was about leaving a legacy that would inspire others and make a lasting impact. Alex began to reflect on the journey that had brought him here. From the quiet fields of his hometown, where he had learned patience, care, and trust with Shadow, to the busy streets of the city, where he had faced chaotic crowds and emergencies, every step had shaped him into the officer he had become. He remembered his grandfather's advice. True horsemanship is about understanding, not control. Courage is about acting when it matters, and service is about putting others first. These lessons had guided him through every challenge, and they would now guide him in shaping the future of the next generation. One of Alex's first steps toward creating a lasting impact was mentoring younger recruits. New officers often arrived at the mounted unit with raw talent but little experience. Alex shared his knowledge openly, teaching them how to ride with balance, communicate with their horses, and anticipate potential dangers in crowds. He emphasized the importance of calmness, empathy, and trust. A horse can sense fear and frustration, he told them. If you want to succeed, you must first understand your horse and yourself. Together, you can accomplish more than you ever imagined. He also taught practical skills that could save lives. Alex used stories from his own experiences to explain how quick thinking, careful observation, and steady guidance could prevent accidents. He encouraged recruits to stay vigilant, to pay attention to small details in the environment, and to trust both their instincts and their horses. Through these lessons, he not only taught horsemanship, but also instilled a sense of responsibility and courage that would guide them throughout their careers. Beyond mentoring within the mounted unit, Alex also sought to connect with the community. He visited schools, parks, and community events, giving demonstrations of riding and explaining the role of mounted officers. Children and adults alike were captivated by Shadow's elegance and Alex's skill. More importantly, he used these opportunities to teach lessons about trust, respect, and cooperation, not just between human and horse, but among people themselves. His message was simple yet powerful. Courage and kindness, combined with skill and focus, could make a real difference in the world. Alex also worked on building programs to introduce young people to riding and horsemanship. He remembered how important it had been for him to have the chance to spend time with horses in his childhood. Many children had never had the opportunity to interact with these animals or to learn the patience and dedication required to ride. Alex wanted to change that. He collaborated with local schools and community centers to provide workshops, riding lessons, and experiences that allowed children to develop confidence, responsibility, and empathy. Watching the children learn to ride, care for horses, and gain trust in themselves reminded him of his own early days in his grandfather's fields. Even with his growing responsibilities as a mentor and community leader, Alex continued to serve actively in the mounted unit. He participated in parades, emergency responses, and community events, always maintaining the high standards he had set for himself. Shadow, now older but equally capable, remained his faithful partner. Together, they were not only a team of officer and horse, they were symbols of dedication, courage, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. One afternoon, Alex received news that the mounted unit would be recognized by the city for outstanding service. The award was meant to honor the officers who had contributed to public safety, and Alex felt a quiet pride. Yet, he did not see the award as a personal achievement. Instead, he thought of Shadow, his fellow officers, the recruits he had mentored, and the countless people whose lives had been made safer by the unit's work. When he stood on the stage to accept the award, he made a point to include everyone in his speech. "This is not just about one person or one horse," he said. "It's about teamwork, trust, and service. Every officer, every horse, and every moment of courage matters. Together, we can make a difference." As time passed, Alex's reputation grew. People in the community began to see the mounted unit not just as law enforcement, but as a symbol of trust, dedication, and courage. Parents would tell their children stories about the hero on horseback who had saved the lost, guided the frightened, and kept everyone safe. Children would visit the stables to see Shadow and learn from Alex, eager to ride and understand the lessons of patience, care, and courage. In this way, Alex's influence extended beyond the streets and into the hearts of those he served. Despite the recognition and admiration, Alex remained humble. He remembered the long hours in the fields, the early mornings with his grandfather, and the countless falls and mistakes that had taught him resilience and perseverance. He understood that true heroism was not about fame or applause, but about the quiet, consistent effort to do the right thing. Every day offered an opportunity to protect, to teach, and to inspire. And Alex embraced each day with the same dedication he had shown from the beginning. One of the most fulfilling moments in his later career came when he saw a young recruit, nervous and unsure, approach a horse for the first time. Alex could see the fear and hesitation, but he also saw curiosity and determination. Gently, he guided the recruit through the steps of grooming, understanding the horse's behavior and riding. Watching the young officer gain confidence and form a bond with the horse reminded Alex of himself as a boy, starting out in the quiet fields with Shadow. It was a powerful moment, showing that the legacy of courage, skill, and compassion could continue through others. Alex also reflected on the personal growth he had achieved. His time as a mounted officer had taught him patience, humility, and the importance of connecting with others. The bond with Shadow had been a constant source of strength, reminding him that success depended on trust and collaboration. He realized that every challenge, every moment of fear or uncertainty, had shaped him into a person capable of handling responsibility with grace. In his later years, Alex decided to formalize his teachings by creating a training program for young riders and aspiring mounted officers. The program focused not only on riding techniques, but also on building trust, patience, and empathy. Alex emphasized that horsemanship was not just about skill, but about understanding the needs of the horse and the people around them. The program became popular, attracting children, teens, and young adults eager to learn from someone who had lived the experiences he taught. Through this program, Alex ensured that his knowledge and values would continue to influence future generations. He taught students that courage was not about taking unnecessary risks, but about acting responsibly when it mattered. He showed them that true skill combined patience, empathy, and observation, and he demonstrated that a strong bond between a rider and a horse could lead to extraordinary outcomes, both in service and in life. Looking back, Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His journey had started in a small town, with quiet mornings in the fields, a young boy and a horse named Shadow. Over the years, he had faced challenges, emergencies, and moments of heroism. He had taught others, protected the community, and built a legacy that would last far beyond his own career. And through it all, he had remained true to the lessons of his youth: patience, kindness, courage, and the importance of trust. As he watched new recruits take their first steps with their horses, Alex smiled quietly. He knew that the future was in good hands, that the values he had learned and taught would continue to inspire others. Shadow, older now but still proud and graceful, stood beside him, a symbol of the partnership that had made all of this possible. Together they had shown what it meant to be a hero, not for fame, not for reward, but for the simple, quiet courage to do what was right every single day. And so, Alex Morno's story reached a meaningful conclusion. He had become a hero on horseback not just because of skill or bravery, but because of dedication, compassion, and the extraordinary bond between a rider and his horse. His legacy would continue in the hearts and actions of the community, the recruits he had mentored, and the children who would grow up inspired by his story. The boy who had once dreamed in the fields of a small town had become a man who inspired courage, patience, and service in everyone he met. The city would always remember the hero on horseback, but Alex knew that the true story was about trust, understanding, and the quiet acts of courage that defined a life of service. And with Shadow by his side, he would continue to ride, teach, and inspire, reminding everyone that true heroism came from the heart.